Right, it's 12 o'clock. Where are you, Grant? There you are. Amazing to see so many people joining in for the first time. And what a it's a good day. It's been a good few months, hasn't it, to talk about
Wow.
hydration. I just I just closed. I had a bit of a through breeze coming in here, but I just closed the door to my office, and now I'm like, so
If I know it's oppressive here, that some of you might be joining. Give me a raise of the hand if you're working or joining from a kind of an air conditioned environment where you are at the moment, or are you like me
and
at
me.
home? I haven't got access to an air conditioning system, so I currently have these. My room is scattered with fans, just all directed at me here. Um, Home and boiling, someone said. I think
Yeah.
that's about right, isn't it? Just to tag on the back of what you were saying there, Carin, and just to kind of reinforce to those people that are joining for the first time, that these sessions are very informal. It's a chance for us to all to work together, really, just to kind of identify best practice, to reflect on some of our current habits, some of the things that we might want to change. But essentially, we're here to raise awareness, to check in with how we're getting on, and perhaps identify some of those actionable kind of strategies when it comes to hydration. What's going to really fit in with me and my current levels of motivation and environment and so on and so forth. So hopefully by the end of today, people joining have a little bit more insight into their current habits and some things that they want to experiment with. Um, so you mentioned there, Carin, didn't you? The weather, and it's been a bit challenging, and I guess this question is for everybody as well. What elements of your well-being do you feel it's been a little bit more challenging to manage given the circumstances of our environments at the moment? Share with me in the chat function. Carin, what do you think? What is it? Are there any particular other elements other than hydration, of course, which is always a bit of a challenge when it gets hot? what,
Yeah.
what, what do you
And
think?
exercise. Um, It's quite because you know me, I like to train outdoors, and it's just too hot. So I've been trying to get up early, and get a workout in. But yeah, it's a bit challenging. But exactly like somebody was saying in the comment there, exercise just can't be bothered because it's too hot. And I think that there's a lot of that feeling that you can't be bothered about a lot of stuff. It's difficult to get things done, isn't it? Like laundry is piling up, and nobody's kind of yeah, nobody's doing stuff.
It is it?
And
And
sleep, goodness,
yeah.
yes, we spoke about that earlier as
Oh,
well.
I was having a right whinge, wasn't I? Sleep. I don't know. Give me a high five. Is it your nemesis as well? It's my nemesis at the best of times, but when it's warm, oh crikey, I'm a right grump.
Yeah.
And I said to you this morning, didn't I, Karen? I woke myself up at 4 o'clock in the morning because a spider crawled across my face, and I was ended up like just slapping myself in the face. My wife, the following morning was just laughing at me, saying, "What were you doing last night?" But but yeah, sleep is a bit of an Achilles heel at the moment
What
for
sleep indeed.
me. Well, not
Yeah.
only me, as it
Seeing a
turns
lot of
out.
that in the comments as well. Just feeling exhausted. Yeah. Not sleeping
Yeah,
very well. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to hydration, usually most of us do tend to, back to the spiders,
yeah, I know.
most of us do tend to find it easier to drink, right, when it's hot. Because we might sweat, we're warm, we feel that we probably do drink more and we need to drink more. But do we drink, sufficient amounts anyway?
Yeah.
What about you, Grant? How are you doing with
Well,
hydration?
how am I doing with hydration? I feel I generally do okay. I've got a couple of habits that I anchor that help support my ongoing hydration throughout the day, and I'll share those habits with you as we journey through the session today. But yeah, it's always because there's lots of other factors that are influencing our levels of hydration that we don't necessarily consider, and when those factors just increase just a little bit, it affects our hydration, and we might feel those factors are fairly insignificant, but actually they have a quite a big, like for example sleep
Yeah, that,
has a big
yeah.
knock-on effect to everything else. So yeah, I'm doing okay. So it's good to reflect around. It's been lovely kind of preparing for this session and talking with you about it, and thinking about what a lovely reflective questions that we can ask about it. It's good to check in, isn't it? So well,
Yeah.
let me ask you that reflective question, and share with me, everybody, in the chat function, if you want to the nearest half a litre, how much fluid have you consumed already today? So
Yeah, okay.
what?
2 liters already. Wow. Three. Well, you had 3 liters already. I'd say that I've had about a liter so far. So we'll talk about, cues and reminders and everything like when it comes to our all of our well-being habits is all about those habits, isn't it? And what we do to remind ourselves. And this is one of this is one of mine. And I did have a large glass of water this morning, and but this is all that I've managed so far. It's a bit poor. Um, but I will have 2 liters once I get through this. I'll have a
Well, it's also not just water, isn't it? So we'll talk about that. It's not,
yeah.
it's consuming fluid, and we'll look at that as well. I'm also curious because we do lots of kind of signature webinars, and as we say, many of the webinars are designed to raise awareness, and also we do a lot of focus on self-reflection. So I'm going to again encourage people to give themselves a rating. How would you rate your current management of your hydration out of 10? So 10, of course, would be that you drink water regularly, you feel like you're very mindful when it comes to your hydration, and you feel adequately hydrated by the time you get to the end of your day, and you drink more than enough, and you feel like you're managing it really well. And one, of course, is it doesn't even kind of drop into my radar. I'm
I mean,
kind of,
as
I'm always
expected, we're
dehydrated.
getting all the numbers in the chat, as you would think. And yeah, and getting the sort of 8 out of 10 at home, 6 out of 10 in the office. So that's interesting. But it's a really good point to raise how our environment sets us up, but depending on what we're doing, of course. And I can share, like with my habit, I was telling you earlier, and we'll talk about, details later and electrolytes and stuff, but I would always have, a large glass of electrolytes first thing in the morning. But it's like a subscription service. So when they run out, I kind of forget to do that. I'll just have my tea. It's funny how very quickly, and if I don't have this visual reminder in front of me, I forget very easily. I think hydration, I'd give myself a 6, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talk about habit change and behavior change quite often, or every day, and the importance of you know th- triggers and prompts. Our environment's littered by all these different triggers and prompts that kind of work against us. So we have to work hard, don't we, to create an environment for us to
Mm,
be a little bit more successful at the habit that we want to focus on.
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, wonderful reflections. Thank you so much. As we say quite often, it's always a real privilege to get a little bit of an insight, because you have the courage and the confidence and the vulnerability to share some of your reflections. That's really, really lovely. So thank you for doing that. And I'm curious now because I'm going to ask you another follow-up question to the last question we asked, which was, so let me just try and phrase this. You scored yourself a certain number. So why did you score yourself that number and not a lower number? So if you scored yourself a 3 or you scored yourself an 8, why did you score yourself that number and not a lower number? In other words, take a moment to
What are you
reflect
doing
on
well?
what it is you're doing quite well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's working for you at the moment? Why did you select that number?
Yeah, please do share your habit triggers and what you do to remind yourself to drink enough.
It's interesting about working from home
Getting
means easier access. I wonder what the obstacle is at work that's preventing you from.
too far away from the kitchen, maybe.
Yes,
Part of
yeah.
my routine, which is a great answer, is just you got those habits nailed. I wonder what they look like. I'm curious now. What is the routine? Yeah, just drink better in the office.
Put it on the desk and just ignore it, that water, and then
Yeah,
it
yeah,
warms up. And if you put
I
it on
hear
there because
you.
it's cold, yeah,
I hear you.
it's there.
Absolutely. And quite a few of you are saying about having, starting, because we're all dehydrated first thing in the morning, right? So it's always a good idea to have some water first thing you do before anything else, before any hot drink or whatever you might do in the morning. And it's a great way to set yourself up for the day as well, isn't it? You've started right, so potentially will remind us to drink throughout the day as well.
I think there's lots of strategies and actual strategies that are hugely beneficial for hydration, and I think
Yeah.
some like leading the way is hydration first thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or certainly it's up there, isn't it? And leading the way first thing in the morning, first thing you do. Okay. But fantastic reflections, everybody. Brilliant stuff. Thank you for sharing. Um, let's talk then about, why is hydration important? Why does it matter to us? Why does it matter to our function? We clearly all are very, very aware that it's kind of the most important part of our nutrition, we could argue, for the
Yeah.
function of ourselves. So, what are some of the effects of dehydration? So
And
what
yeah,
jumps to your
what do you
mind?
notice in yourself? And I just saw a comment there pop up as well that on the previous question that they experience headaches if they don't stay hydrated. And some of us would get that quicker than others, right? So you know that. So you're just like, oh, I'm gonna be hydrated and then, I avoid getting headaches. Some of us might not notice that. And I'm one of those. Could easily forget to drink and not notice
Yeah.
until it's too late. Because the reality is that by the time we notice, so you're great, thanks for sharing all your headaches, feeling tired, foggy, lightheaded, dry mouth, yawning, dry skin, head lack of energy.
Mm,
Yeah, all of these things. By the time we notice these things in ourselves, we're already dehydrated.
yeah. And it's like many things, isn't it? It's like it's like a little warning sign. It's like
Yeah,
if if I was to say uh, how would you know you've been spending too much time sitting? Your body and
yeah,
your brain would tell you certain. It would give you a little insight, wouldn't it? It would give you a little warning, and it's much like thirst. It's saying, okay, we do need to step up
yeah,
and rehydrate. It's interesting. Someone said there about kind of cramps, because of
yeah.
course
Kidney pain.
dehydration affects our muscles. My
Mm.
background is health and fitness, and I worked as a trainer and a tutor and a coach for a number of years. And one of the first questions I used to ask my clients when they turned up was, "How are you feeling today? And what have you had to eat and drink today?" And of course, sometimes people would rock up in the evening and say, "Oh, Grant, it's been just carnage for me today at work, and I've had two coffees, a sip of water, and a sandwich because it's just been back-to-back meetings." And of course, then you're like, "Well, okay, well, how how effective are you going to be functioning if you're dehydrated and you're going to be your muscles are 80% water? If you're dehydrated, even just by 1%, it can affect our cognitions by negatively by up to 12%. And if you're dehydrated by 1%, by 2% or more, I should say, then your physical and cognitive performance can decrease by up to 20%. So I'm like, well, how effective is this training session going to really be? How well are your muscles going to be working? Because if you're dehydrated, they're going to lose the certain essential minerals that, as you mentioned about electrolytes. We're going to fatigue quicker. There's going to be slower recovery. Give me a high five if you follow a regular exercise routine. Yeah, and you may well have noticed, as mentioned, many of us already, that we feel a bit more tired already, and it could be that we again are not putting ourselves in the best position for our muscles to work as well as they could. So what else happens? How does dehydration affect our digestion, Carin?
Well, just one step back there, because you mentioned lots of percentages and how much of your muscles is water and stuff. And I think most of us know this as well that our bodies we're at what about 60% water. Your brain is over 70% water. You know, there's a reason we need to keep hydrated. We're made of water to a great extent, and we need to stay hydrated to function in so many different ways for your brain. And you notice this in yourself, don't you? You struggle to concentrate, perhaps. It just impacts on our cognitive function. Your brain needs to kind of swim around in water, but also the water helps, all those neurons to connect better. And what did you say? Digestion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's a
same
key element,
there.
isn't it? Our body function decreases if we're dehydrated. So what does that mean for our digestion?
Yeah, so if we don't drink water, with our meals or after our meals, it just makes the process of digestion really sluggish and difficult and just creates that blockage. But so the water helps, your gut to work and absorb the food and do its thing. But it also helps, to transport all the nutrients and the minerals and
Yeah.
everything into your cells, right? So if you're dehydrated and eating, your digestion isn't going to work as well, but you're also not going to be able to absorb the nutrients
Yeah.
as well as possible.
And someone did mention constipation, so your
Yeah,
digestive tract will kind of take
it
out
dries out.
more fluid from your stools, yeah, and you
Yeah.
can become
Because you lose a lot of fluids that way as well. Of course, we always
yes,
think about, you know,
yeah,
the
and
wind.
again, think of yes, the organs of elimination. You think about sweating.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just continually working exceptionally hard to maintain and regulate our body temperatures is a challenge, and of course that affects our blood as well.
Yeah. So you need the hydration to be able to regulate your body temperature and to be able to sweat. That's really important. And yeah, and again, your blood is mainly water as well. So if you're dehydrated, your blood just becomes thicker and moves slower. So staying hydrated is going to make your blood thinner, flow easier. It helps, with your heart pumping your blood around in your body. It also helps to, maintain healthy blood pressure, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, if it affects all, blood pressure is a big one, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
we get dehydration that can equal blood pressure drops, and sometimes it affects
yeah,
our kidneys as well, and our hormone productions that are really important for retaining water as well. Sometimes we see that, we notice that, don't we? That certain hormones during certain environments, it
yeah.
triggers our kidneys kind of end up retaining water as
And I
well.
actually learned this just the other day because, funnily, it was a really hot day and I'd been out doing a workout in the heat and I'd got some really weird bite on my thigh, which everybody thought was a tick, but it wasn't a tick and it looked really bad. So I was advised to go and have that checked out. So, when you go to the medical center, they always check your blood pressure. And I'd never had such low blood pressure. I was like, wow, that's incredibly low. And the nurse said, you need to drink more water. I was like, okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know that before. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
can become quite
interesting.
erratic. Our blood pressure can become quite
Hmm.
erratic, can't it? Um, yeah, so clearly there are effects of dehydration, and I'm going to encourage everybody now again to pause around that thought and perhaps identify your own personal signs and symptoms. What would be your own? What would be one or two of your top? What's your top one or two signs and symptoms that you know that if this pops into your brain or this has happening to you, it would indicate perhaps I'm feeling a bit dehydrated at the moment. Let's raise our awareness again. Just check in with some of our.
Yeah, feeling a bit dizzy. That's a good
Um,
one. Yeah, what do you notice, Grant? I think, headaches. I think I notice first.
yeah, my eyes ache. I whinge about.
Mhm.
Oh, I say whinge. Perhaps it's the wrong word. I'll probably tell you would agree. It's probably a
Yeah,
right word.
like, that's fine. Yeah.
But
Sounds
but
accurate.
but yeah, I kind of whinge a little bit about kind of my eyes aching and
Mm,
stress affecting my
yeah,
hydration. If I'm under kind of if I'm working in a more stressful environment for a period of time, kind of can dehydrate quicker, can't you? So,
mm,
certainly for me, it would be a sign to also anticipate that. So if I know that I've got a kind of a busy day or something like that, and really work up my hydration the night before and the morning
yeah,
of that day as well is really
yeah.
important.
I notice that as well. If I'm not well hydrated, just not having the same energy, right? So yeah, it's a good. So you'd need to start topping up quite a while
Yeah,
before, don't you, in preparation? Yeah,
I,
there was. Yeah, sorry, go on.
sorry, I've just noticed someone saying cramps in their calf at
Yes,
night time
good,
or their
good
feet.
one.
Give me a high five. Does anyone get the odd cramp in their foot or their
Hmm.
calf or something? And you
Yeah,
wake up thinking, oh, someone's just shot me or stabbed me in the leg.
yeah, I do.
Yeah, I'm like
I
that as
do.
well.
And yeah, and somebody's saying there, lack of salt in my diet. It nicely brings us on to what keeps us hydrated because we spoke about magnesium earlier, which could be a great supplement to take, especially if you experience cramps. And that's got to do with the electrolytes and that part of the electrolytes that we need, don't we?
Hmm. So when we say electrolytes, and you said it a few times, we're talking about kind of some essential minerals, aren't we?
Mm. Oh, look, somebody's all we were talking about this before. We should ask you. And
Well,
there's an answer there. I make my own electrolyte water.
ah,
Great.
we're gonna have to
And
share your recipe later on.
yeah, share your recipe. And then the next question, which magnesium, please? And so I think when it comes to magnesium, it can be quite a good idea to go to a specialist shop and get some advice because it might depend on, what you need it for in your particular setup. Because some types of magnesium are good at sort of also protecting your heart or your muscles. But you and I use the same one, don't we, Grant?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's keep it right to hand.
I'm not going to advertise it, but it's a magnesium glycinate 3-in-1. So it's got glycinate, malate, and citrate.
Yeah, we
There you
use
go.
that one.
There
When
you
I
go.
remember to take it.
There you go.
Uh,
But there's look, someone's dropped in the homemade
Amazing.
electrolyte water. Fabulous. Look at that.
This is basically exactly what we discussed earlier, because there is such a hype at the moment, isn't it, around electrolytes? It's the next thing, after we've been sort of marketed collagens for quite a few years. Now it's electrolytes. It makes us think that, we're going to need this, that water is not going to hydrate us.
Yeah,
And there are certain times, aren't there, when this is great. And like I said, I use them as well. I might
yeah,
start making my own, but this is exactly it, right? So all you need is just the water, pinch of salt, pinch of sugar, and some lemon juice.
yeah. And I'm going to say pinch of salt. There's obviously lots of different types of salts.
Yes.
The ones that I think that are or contain more essential minerals are the more beneficial for you. So there's,
Yeah, so
I know I use Baja Gold salts and Celtic salts.
that sounds fancy. I quite like
Um,
sea salt, but a
yeah,
good like unrefined.
yeah,
Yeah, stay away from sort of table salt because that's not.
yeah.
Um,
So these electrolytes are really important. They're important for directing nutrients into the cells. They enable our muscles to contract properly. There's a lovely phrase. It said, electrolytes are tiny sparks of energy that move water where it needs to go and help your muscles contract and relax. So they're essential. So
yeah.
drinking water is hugely beneficial, and many people will say, okay, that's the first stop. But you can hydrate quicker, I guess, and
Hmm.
more effectively by hydrating and consuming these electrolytes as well.
So there'll be times where you might need to kind of boost that hydration because I think, and we can talk about all your favorite ways to hydrate and your go-to, but water is free and available usually most places we find ourselves, so we don't need to kind of overcomplicate it. It's great to drink water if you like water. If you're not keen on water, you can always, add some flavoring if you like to stick some cucumbers or some mint or some lemon or whatever it might be. But there are certain times, of course, when adding or thinking about those electrolytes could be beneficial, like if you're doing strenuous exercise when it's particularly hot um,
Yeah, yeah.
scenarios. Shall I
Yeah.
share? Shall I
Well, yeah.
share
I
my
mean,
electrolyte slide?
yeah, like because there are clearly different ways that we can consume these electrolytes, and we consume them via
Yes,
liquids and via different foods. So yeah, what does that
exactly.
look like?
So, and it's great the one, and somebody said in the chat function there as well um about making your own, electrolytes or diarylight. Is that okay, to use? Yeah, that's, a quick rehydration thing as well. Again, it's salt and sugar normally, but I thought I'd just share this slide as well because um these other liquid forms that are high in electrolytes. And electrolytes are just these different minerals, right? That just help bind and retain the water in your body, right? To just hydrate you better. And things like milk, which has also got the fat and the protein, that also works to keep you hydrated for longer rather. So some natural sources, as you can see there, coconut water, some diluted either orange or cherry juice, milk, and bone broth as well, which has, of course, these other minerals. But then, as we've mentioned magnesium and we've touched on the salt, of course. But it's important to recognize that the foods that we eat that contain these electrolytes will help you benefit more from whatever it is that you're drinking. And of course, anything that you drink is going to be hydrating. Perhaps maybe not alcohol. We can come back to that one. But even teas and coffees, even though they might be diuretic and not, the best form, anything that you drink and also foods that you eat are going to add on to your hydration. But so basically, your electrolytes are these that you see on the screen, your potassium, magnesium, sodium, and calcium. So eating foods rich in those are going to help with your hydration and to stay hydrated longer. So you can see their fruits like bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes are great for potassium. Your spinach, pumpkin seeds, and almonds are great for magnesium and also supplements because um, I think a high proportion of the population tend to be a bit low in magnesium. So, it's
Yeah,
not
I
telling
think
people to take
I think it,
supplements, but,
yeah,
if
I
you are
think
noticing things like the cramps and stuff, that could be beneficial.
yeah, and I think it is in the seven. I want to say 70% or more of the population are deficient in magnesium.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I might be so. Well, check your sources.
It might be, yeah. As I say, I want to say that it's just
Yeah.
something it just jumps into
It's
my brain.
very, very possible, absolutely. And then, your sodium, of course, um, good quality salt and balancing that, of course, but also things like olives and seaweed that are great sources of
Mm.
sodium. And then you've got your dairy products like yogurt and also tofu, those dark green veg that are high in calcium as well. So consider, your diet as a total when you're looking at your hydration and getting some of these things in will be beneficial as
And
well.
I guess we've been speaking now for the best part of 30 minutes, and what we haven't talked about is um, how much should we drink?
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's good. What do you think?
what are the recommended? What do you guys think? How much should you drink? Do you have a kind of a ceiling level or a target that you aim for every day? What do you feel?
Oh, very specific first aid. 25 mils per kilo. What does that make? Two,
Interesting.
two,
Um,
3 liters, so many are you saying?
2 to 3, yeah.
We often hear two, don't we? Many of you think you need a bit more and of course, how much we drink is going to depend from person to person, as with everything with our well-being and nutrition. And
Yeah.
it's going to depend on your activity levels. It's going to depend on the climate, how hot you are. It's loads of different things, the foods you're consuming and how active you are in general.
But also it's very dependent, and people forget about this element of hydration sometimes. That people will say, okay, well, if I'm more active today than I was yesterday, I need to consume more fluid.
Yeah.
If it's hotter today than it was yesterday, I need to consume more fluid. But people sometimes will forget that their body mass, their weight is crucial as well. So depending on
Mm.
your body weight, there's more of you, so you need to consume a little bit more water, depending on your body
Yeah,
weight.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and also, like you mentioned that, too much can also like put stress on your kidneys. And of course, it does happen every now and then that people get water poisoning, don't they? Sometimes they have these challenges and stuff, and people glug down 5 liters, and that could be fatal. It's quite an extreme situation, and
Yeah.
most of us would not be at risk of drinking too much water, but there is a balance, right? So drinking too much water, because it dilutes the sodium, and that salt is so important in our bodies. And when it dilutes the sodium, our organs just fail quite quickly, actually, which is interesting. But you would have to drink a lot of water and quite.
And of course we can consume fluid in other ways. You mentioned different foods and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So we can. How much of our water would you say that we consume comes from our foods?
yeah, good question. Depends on the types of foods that we eat. And maybe, in hot weathers, I certainly tend to eat a lot more salads, watermelon, having that around the house all the time. These things are really high in water.
Mm.
So those will make a big difference, and it all contributes. So, if you struggle to reach your 2 liters, but you're snacking on watermelon and cucumbers and eating lots of, you know, electrolyte rich foods, you might be okay anyway. So, always just kind of go by how you're feeling, right?
And and because it's talked about quite often when it comes to hydration about teas and coffees
Yeah.
and about how do they count towards our hydration level as well?
Well, they do. Yeah, so anything that you drink counts, but they are also diuretic, so it will impact your body in different ways. But,
Mm.
the tea and the coffee are still part of your hydration, but don't use, if you only drink coffee all day long, I
Well, yeah, it reminds me of we used to go out on the kind of health check bus, the blue bus,
yeah.
delivering health checks within the community. And one of the questions on our assessments was a reflection around how many cups of water you have, 200 milliliter waters,
Mm.
those picnic cups. And then another question was how many teas do you have, how many coffees you have? And so this one person came on the bus and we were talking about and running, and I was kind of leading them through the test. And we come to these questions, and I asked her, how many cups of water would you consume in a day? And she said about two. And then I said, how many cups of tea would you consume in a day? And she said about 15. And I was like, okay,
That's
so
impressive. Yeah.
so you're drinking 3 liters,
Yeah.
but we want that sliding scale somewhat. And again, it's other elements, isn't it? We all mentioned sleep as perhaps a bit of a test at the moment. And if I'm consuming lots of teas and coffees,
Yeah.
it might it helps towards my hydration quota, but it might be have an offset effect or a kick on
Yeah,
effect.
because that amount of tea will still be a decent amount of caffeine. But I did actually see somebody recently when we were out and about as well who had 10 cups of coffee in a day, which I
10
also
cups of
thought was
coffee. Yeah.
quite impressive. He was like, I'll have two before I leave the house in the morning, and then I'll get to the Costa drive through. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, so
But yeah, but he did also drink lots of water. But we're just shows, right? It's whatever works for you.
whatever works. And what what does work? What are some of the actionable step? Well, before we get onto that, actually, um,
Yeah,
let's talk.
should we talk
Yeah.
about what gets in the way of
Well, I was just thinking that that you guys scored yourself. Do you remember we asked you at the start, score
yeah.
yourself how well you manage your hydration? You gave me a number, or you popped in a number. Take a
And
moment.
the things
Why did you?
you did well, right? We looked at
Yeah.
what we
So
did
why
well.
did you score yourself that number and not any lower? So what's working right now? What? Oh no, sorry, it's the obstacles, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we've talked about what was working, but so I guess the next question then is why didn't you give yourself a higher number? Like,
Yeah.
what could you do better? So what are your obstacles to staying
What are
hydrated?
your yeah? What's stopping
What
you
just
from?
gets in the way?
Yeah.
Oh, someone just lost the sound. Hopefully that comes back.
Alcohol
Alcohol
straight in
gets
there.
in the way. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We
We
were
spoke
talking
about
about
that a
that as
bit,
well, weren't we?
when the sun's out, you might swap some water for rosé on occasion.
Give me a high five. I'm curious. I'm just curious. I have to ask them, Carin. Give me a high five if you found yourself leaning a little bit more to a glass of wine or a cold beer after you get in from work that you might not usually do.
Yeah, it's tempting, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone's leaning on that one.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. It's, our habits change, don't they, in this climate, and it's nice to sit outside with a cold drink for sure. And yeah, like
Ah,
the
look at
first
that.
person who said alcohol gets in the way, for sure. I always pour a glass of water, but I might forget about it. So what are some of the obstacles then? Work gets in the way, so basically just being too busy, you forget. Being in
Yeah.
back-to-back meetings, that requires a bit of forward planning, doesn't it? Bring your 2 liter bottle with you to the meetings. Don't normally feel thirsty. Yeah, you and me both. I do forget. Needing to go to the loo. That's such a good one as well because I often hear that from people that they might avoid drinking because they know they're going to be, out for a long drive or they, going for a long walk or something, and you just want to avoid
But
it. So
that
that's where it's also a good thing to put a little bit of salt in your water that helps, retain it, and you need to go to the toilet less frequently.
but that might be something useful to practice or to experiment with is to keep track of your progress.
Yeah.
Just notice it, just write down every time how many times you go for a pee
Hmm.
every day,
And I think, isn't it also the case that, if you are often slightly dehydrated and you drink water, you'll be going to the toilet more often. But if you were to stay on top of your hydration, so you're continuously, maybe not continuous, but you're drinking water throughout the day, your body gets used to that in a different way.
I think so. I think your body adapts, doesn't it, over time?
Yeah.
So some, especially, I think of some of the kind of clients that we work with that have jobs that are on the road a lot, or they're busy for
Yeah.
hours at a time doing labor intensive roles, or something like that. And they say, well, I can't drink too much because otherwise I'll have to go to the toilet. And I need to be at my job. I need to, do my job. So
Mm.
yeah, remember if you've got goals or ambitions of improving any element of your health and well-being and you're
Yeah.
dehydrated, how quickly do you expect to progress towards your end goal if
Yeah.
you're dehydrated? So it's the one thing, it's like that kind of Swiss Army knife, isn't it, of your health and well-being. It's crucial. It oils your joints.
Mm.
It's fuel for your cells. Our cells are not going to work. We're
Supports
not
the
going to work.
brain function. Yeah. No, absolutely great. I think you so many great shares there, all the different things, why we don't drink. And quite it's quite common to just not feel thirsty or just forget about it. So I'm gonna share another slide around the obstacles. Because I think you've mentioned all of these ones here, probably that are going to pop up. Right, you can see all of those ones now. So just to share a few tips and tricks, right? Because if we want to stay hydrated, and we do, because now we know how important it is, one of the most important parts of looking after our well-being is that recognizing, as you've done now, and having the self-awareness of what might be getting in the way, and then next step is then figuring out what to do about it, right? And trying to establish some of those new habits. So many of you mentioned, being too busy, always, just first thing in the morning, making sure that you have that bottle, you can have a bottle visible to you. Some of you mentioned it sits on the desk and I don't touch it. Fair enough. I do that sometimes as well. You can set reminders, which is a good, idea if you're being too busy or also forgetting. And and also adding on drinking water to something else that you're doing. If you're getting a hot drink, get a glass of water. Every time you pick up your phone, have a sip of water. Whatever it might look like. Set yourself a little challenge. Write it down and try and implement that every day. So some of you tend to go, maybe not this time of year, but in the colder weather, you might prefer a hot drink, and you might go for coffee or tea. Um, and going for that also to kind of boost our energy, because sometimes, as we mentioned, and many of you mentioned in the comment as well, you might feel a bit lethargic, a bit low energy due to hydration, but we might not recognize that as dehydration. So you might think that you need coffee or a sugary snack or something, but maybe you just need water to boost that natural energy. So check in with yourself if that's you, but also herbal teas is a great thing, and you can do herbal teas and chill them, if you're not a fan of water. So the toilet breaks, we mentioned as well. So electrolytes can be an option there, or being mindful of the electrolytes and then the salt to make sure you don't need to run to the toilet constantly. Just not noticing or just not really feeling thirsty, many of you mentioned as well. So trying to find ways how you can make that a regular habit. Think of the visual clues and the prompts that you can use to just sort of continuously sip on water, whether you're thirsty or not. Just make that part of every hour of the day or something. Yeah, because we don't want to wait until and especially for those people who tend not to feel very thirsty, by the time they do, they might be really dehydrated. Um, just not keen on water. I hear that from people all the time. I just don't like drinking water. So find ways around that. Like you could do the cold, or hot for that matter. Herbal teas, of course, is good. Adding fruits and berries to water and leaving it in the fridge, mint, cucumber, lemon, things that add a little bit of flavor. I'm a big fan of these flavored sparkling waters. Um, my dentist is always asking me to not. I saw him the other week, and he said, "You still drinking sparkling water?" I said, "Yep, I'm not giving it up." But he's suggesting drinking that through a straw. I was like, I'll consider it. We'll see. But don't just sort of settle for, I'm just not keen on water, so I don't bother drinking. find out what you do like, but don't make that, sugary, fizzy drinks, of course. And then, when we just forget though, how can we create? So that's a good one to sort of have a little extra think about. If you're just forgetting, what can we do to try and create a new habit that is actually going to stick?
Yeah. And the first step is awareness, right? The first step is prompt.
Yeah.
So you have to be, become aware, um, and you need that prompt. Fabulous little actionable reflective tips there. There's some
Yeah.
really, really interesting points being made in the chat. The first one here is cold versus hot drinks. Is there any
Yeah,
benefits
that's a good one.
for the body? I would say if you're exercising, having a colder drink can be more useful because it can help cool down your body temperature as well, and that's beneficial. Room temperature, I believe, is the most, I guess, most useful. Would you say, Carin?
Hmm.
Um,
And we
some,
often mention as well about, having a mug of hot water in the morning as that is quite helps and be quite cleansing. But again, I think, as long as we're drinking, maybe we don't need to
yeah, it might be
be
minimal
too,
significance, I guess.
yeah, we don't have to try and be too perfectionist about it. Did you also notice this comment here? Highly recommend mixing sparkling water with cold brew tea. I'm trying that today.
There we go.
That
Solved.
will be my new sparkling water drink.
I was really curious about a little comment a little bit higher than that that
Oh
said
yeah.
in the hospital urology department, I saw a poster that said the less you drink, the more your bladder shrinks, and vice versa. So
Oh
drinking
yeah.
less to avoid needing a wee actually doesn't work.
So that's what we were guessing at before. We thought we'd heard that. And it
Yeah,
makes sense.
fabulous.
So train your bladder to hold more water. Yeah. And that's great. Then we know, so if we're avoiding it because we don't want to be running to the toilet all the time,
Yeah.
especially when we're out and about.
And do you know what? I mentioned it at the start, and you asked me, and I said I'd share it later on. Um, I'm a big fan of kind of stacking habits. So
Yeah, absolutely.
if I always do one thing at this time, I kind of try and tag things on the back of it because I'm into this habit already that doing this at this time is working. So one of the things that works for me is every time I go for a pee, give me a high five. This is something that you might do anyway. But every time I go for a pee, I always come back and my first thought is, "Wee," is to have a glass of water. Not that wasn't a beer, by the way. That was
You look too happy with that face.
that's that. My first thought is to come back and literally just rehydrate, even if it's just a small sip. But I always try it. And my other one that really works for me and helps me bump up my hydration quota is every time I have a hot drink, and I love my cups and teas and coffees. Every
Yeah.
time I have a hot drink, I'll always have a glass of water next to it.
Hmm.
So I'll always try and do one for one. Um, and so you begin to stack your habits on. And when we say stacking habits, we say think of something that you do regularly and is an ingrained habit, an ingrained
And add water
behavior.
to it. Yeah. Whatever
You
you
know,
do.
and it could be a reward. It could be something you tag on the back of an existing habit. It could be saying, okay, you know, I don't like drinking water that much, but if I do this, I'm going to do it. You know, or if I drink my water, I'm then going to give myself the reward, whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
when we
so I
look at
do
habit
that as
change,
well with the, because I like an Earl Grey in the morning, but I do have my electrolyte water first with my, little supplements that I take, and then I have
mm,
my tea with the collagen, so it's that ritual, right? But then if something throws that off, I might just forget, the whole thing, like when the
yeah,
electrolytes run out.
yeah, yeah. I like having a Barocca as well.
Yeah.
Just a dissolvable Barocca in a large glass. So I'm a bit weird in the morning. I come downstairs and put the kettle on to make my cup of tea, and then I'll get a large glass of water and put a Barocca in it. And while the kettle's boiling, I hold onto the sink and
And
I
you
don't
just,
let go of the sink until I've drunk all my.
I thought you were going to say you do some squats or
No, I
something.
don't do. No,
Like,
I
do
just
all my
hold on.
habits in the
I just
morning.
hold on and just ensure I consume it before I do anything else. And it's
Yeah.
something a bit of a strange
Yeah,
idiosyncrasy.
the holding on to the.
But yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
that's
there's
for
other
some of
ways.
you who like struggled getting the water down. Just you're not allowed to let go of your your desk until you finish your water. But it
So
works.
so let's kind of bring it all to a head. Today's been lovely to take a moment to reflect. I'm just going to launch, hopefully, if I can find it. Da, 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 da. Oh, there it is. There you go. Okay, so there's just a little feedback poll for you guys to complete just before you jump off the call today. Um, yeah, so what will you do? What kind of, we've talked about a lot, haven't we? We've reflected, and you guys have been awesome sharing your thoughts and ideas and habits in there. So thank you so much for that. But let's move forward with an action. So what will you experiment with for the next 5 to 7 days?
Yeah.
Okay,
What would you
what
do?
will you do? Share with me in the chat function, share with Carin in the chat function. Will it be to perhaps eat your water, perhaps eat foods that are higher in water than what, or experiment with just 1 or 2 new foods that are higher in water, or fruits or
Yeah.
vegetables, whatnot? Is it to track
Yeah.
your progress? Is it to sip consistently? Is it to habit stack? Is it to, what will you experiment with when it comes to hydration specifically?
Yeah. So start with that awareness that we've been doing to, start with looking at what your obstacles are, what the issues are in the first place, and then think of ways that are going to resonate with you to try and change that behavior, upgrade it somehow.
Sparkling mixed with chilled herbal tea. Okay, that sounds like a 1% progress for everybody, doesn't it? Everyone's kind of bought
Yeah.
into that one
I'm
already.
I'm definitely gonna try that. So somebody lost the sound before, and now somebody can't see the words on the poll. I don't know what
Okay, well,
that is about because it looks like you are
okay. So
all,
the poll,
filling
people
out
are,
the poll. So I think most people can
yeah,
see the
people
words.
are
I'm not
completing
sure
the
what's
poll.
happened there with your, might be something with your screen. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have a look at making my own electrolytes as well,
Yeah, a bit of pinch
especially
of
now that
salt,
I've just run
pinch
out
of
of sugar
sugar,
today.
sold.
Yeah, bit of lemon. Easy peasy. Yeah, and you can use, honey, coconut sugar, maple
Yeah.
syrup, whatever you fancy, but
And
bit of dose proportion is right, I suppose.
someone's again mentioned like supplements. We're not qualified
We're not,
dietitians. We're not prescribing anything. We would encourage you to research and learn more.
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Well,
fabulous.
yeah,
If you have any questions, just drop them in. We're going to hang around for a few more minutes. We've kind of overrun a little bit, and it's 10 to now.
we always do.
Come up for a bit of air, come up for a bit of water, and take some chill time. If you're going to move straight into another meeting, or perhaps you've got some time to come up
Yeah,
for a rest. Um, if you need to jump off the call, please complete the
yeah,
feedback poll before you leave. You guys were fantastic in that chat. It was really lovely to see all that. Thank you so much.
yeah, brilliant. I think we're all going to be very mindful of staying hydrated now. We know how important it is. But it's just figuring out how to get that habit to stick all the time, right? So we're not just constantly trying to catch up, and drinking while when we're already noticing the
Yeah.
signs and symptoms.
And it doesn't have to be massive change, right? It doesn't, the tiniest
No,
little thing, we might think
yeah,
it's insignificant
absolutely.
at the moment, but actually you do it
Yeah,
for a
and it's
couple of
starting
days
where
and it
you are
makes,
now, right? If you drink nothing, then drinking something will be hugely beneficial. Um,
yeah.
Fab. All right. Thank you
Well,
so
fab.
much.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend, everybody. Stay nice and
Thanks for
hydrated,
the
and
thumbs
let
up.
us know. Let us know. Reach out to us if you need anything, if you need a little bit of support with this, or perhaps we've triggered a reflection. You want to talk about some of these ideas or points a little bit further. Come grab us. We're here. We're here. We would love to meet you and talk over a few things if you want to. So please feel free to reach out to us. We're a resource for you if you need us. But thanks again. Hopefully you can sign up for the next one, which will be in a couple of months, I'm sure. But
Well,
keep
they
your
are
ears
quarterly,
open
aren't
and
they?
we'll see
So
how you go.
yeah.
Yeah. Carin, thank you so much. Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Grant.
We're gonna close it down and enjoy
Yeah.
the rest of the day and the weekend.
See you all next time.